Hi, Tile from N3rdling here at the CanJam Southern California 2015, and I'm here in N3rdling's booth. Milos, how you doing?
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you again too, mate. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the gear that you brought to the show today?
Let's see, so I guess I'll start over here. This is the head amp, Electrostatic. It's an electrostatic headphone amplifier. It's basically like a clone, almost a take on the Orpheus that Sennheiser made.
And does he still make this amplifier?
He made a run of about 12, I think.
Yeah.
And then another 4 or so, and I think he has enough parts to build another 2.
Yeah. I know that they're not like a regularly in production unit.
Yeah, it's rare.
It's a beautiful unit. So this is a take on the Orpheus.
Yeah.
Similar. Kevin Gilmore design. Or
I think the circuit is basically the HEV90 circuit, but better parts and better power supply.
Do you know if Kevin had a hand in the reinterpretation of the design or something
I'm not
like that?
exactly sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I don't want to.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised though. He just. Okay, cool. And so you got the Electrostatic and its power supply right here.
And that's, okay. Well, that's driving the SR009 from Stax.
Right.
That's their current flagship. Came out probably 2 years ago.
Okay.
Here I have the Stax 727, which is their top solid state amp. I modified it to give it global feedback.
Oh.
Yeah, right now I think it only has local feedback stock. But the modification is pretty simple. It only takes maybe 30 minutes. And I would definitely recommend everyone do that.
Tighten it up.
For sure. Tightens up the bass especially. It's not too linear stock. But once you do that, it's probably their best amp.
Really?
Outside of the T2.
Who did the mod? Who invented the mod?
Kevin Gilmore, I'm pretty sure.
Was it? Okay.
Spitzer,
yeah, I wasn't sure it was him or Spitzer or whatever, but cool. And what else?
Well, that's driving the SR007.
Yes. There's which do you prefer, the 009 or 007? Because there's some.
The 009 a little more.
Do you?
It's I think it's a little more neutral sounding. Just a little bit bigger soundstage.
Huh.
But I mean, these are 2 of my favorite headsets ever, so
yeah,
I'm really nitpicking there.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people go back and forth. There's certainly a fan base for these and a fan base for these, and how would you characterize the difference between the two?
Yeah, like I said, the SR009 is a little more neutral to me.
Oh, right.
The 7s are a little darker, really warm sounding, more forward sounding. They're probably better for rock and pop. But overall, if you want to listen to classical, as overall performers, I think the 9s are a little bit.
Cool. And then what else do we got here? Wow, this is a big.
So this is the AccuPhase DP57. It's it can be used as a standalone DAC, or both CD player.
Okay.
This is the Stax DAC X1T.
Wow. And this is not a current product anymore, is it? Huh?
They made it in I think 1989 or so. I've been hunting this guy for about 5 years now. And
is that right? Cool.
Found it. Yeah, I've only seen maybe a handful ever come out.
Really? I have never seen one, I don't think. Yeah, very cool.
It's, so both of these use R2R DAC chips.
Right, okay.
AccuPhase uses a 1702, and Stax uses a UA 2400, 1 per channel.
And what would you say is the difference between the R2R DACs and the Delta Sigma DACs?
It's probably not even measurable. But I don't know. They just sound a little more realistic to me. I think the tonality, which is weird to me because you would think that's like related to frequency response, but a lot of times it seems like things that measure the same actually have a little bit different tonality.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always preferred R2R attacks.
I tend to think they're punchier sounding or something. There's this body to it, or some sort of solidity to it, or I don't think it's big, but I think it's an important difference. It's there. And then there's more stuff down here at the other end of the table.
So this is an original Dynahigh. That's a Kevin Gilmore design solid state amplifier.
Yep.
So if you're familiar with
a room heater,
if you're familiar with like the head amp stuff, like the GS1 or GSX,
right?
This is like kind of that on steroids, I guess.
Cool.
It's a single-ended version.
And it's driving. Well, let's see. Why don't you give us the glowing look at these? Yes, sir, Bob. Sony R10.
Some people don't.
These are rare beasts. Nice. What do you think about those?
Probably my favorite dynamic headphone.
Really?
Yeah. These are the bass light version. Now, I like both of them a lot, but I kind of prefer the bass light a little more because the soundstage is a little bigger and the treble is just really fine, especially for a dynamic. There's not too many dynamics that I really like the treble on. And for being kind of closed, they just have like a pretty expansive soundstage.
Now these are it's a microfiber diaphragm, right? It's in this case an organic fiber diaphragm. Biocellulose, or that was what they called it. Does it have? Is it like a speaker where it's a cone and then there's a surround around the diaphragm? Do you know?
I'm not exactly sure. I think it's. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah. Very interesting headphone. How's it holding up? Have you looked inside it and all that kind of stuff?
I've taken off the pads just to check up on it, and the foam completely disintegrated, so I ended up putting another kind of foam in there. But it's a closed cell foam that I use. There's just like kind of like a balance between closed and open cell. I'm having a hard time trying to find a replacement. But you want to see the inside?
Well, sure. And while you do that, I'll mention that these headphones were made. One of the touting points that Sony touted about these headphones were that they were a lot of organic materials, and they're now starting to degrade over time, and so people are having a lot of problems. We'll take a look inside here. So tell us about this.
So the foam is a little too close cell. It kind of restricts the sound stage. But
beautiful angled driver, all wood in there.
If I could take the driver out, you'd see inside they have machined it, so it's basically like a diffusion.
Really?
Yeah.
So there's ridges or something behind the driver inside the cup?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Some like cotton kind of thing inside also.
Yeah. Wow.
And then there's used porting. So the way this is actually not a fully closed headphone. If you look right here,
there's a vents on the edge.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, lucky you. That's a lovely piece of gear to have. I beseech the gods of headphones of the universe to keep Milos's headphones in good shape. So come in and tell us a little bit about how do you like the hobby? Why are you in this hobby? What do you do? What's the hobby like for you?
Well, I don't know. I started off. I was like into like competitive gaming for a while. Not anymore, but so I was looking for just doing research for like gaming headphones.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting the Audio-Technica 8700s, are like famous for gaming. Then I ended up reading HeadFi a little bit, and I upgraded to the DT880s. And I liked what I heard, so I kept reading the forums, and I eventually bought a Lambda Signature made by Stax, which is an electrostatic headphone. And that just blew me away. I knew from then on that I was hooked, I guess, and that all my headphones would have to be like electrostatic. I was pretty sold by the technology.
Huh, cool. And what about the community aspect? Do you go to meets and hang out on the board and all that kind of stuff?
I've been to every single meet in Orange County and LA and Central California since the last CanJam. So that was what, 4 years ago or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe 10 to 15 years.
And what is it that attracts you to keep doing it?
It's just the community, you know. It's nice. I mean, you like to see old timers like Frank, Marv, Dallin, all these guys, you know, see them every time.
Yeah.
Over the years, you just become friends with them.
Yeah.
But it's also nice to like see someone for the first time and just discuss, you know, this stuff for the first time. A lot of times, people have never heard Electrostatic before. They're just like, well, I always try to bring them to the news and stuff.
Yeah.
Just to like expose more people to them.
Yeah.
Alternative.
Yeah.
And especially, I really like especially like a young kid, like a high school kid or something. I like just to get their impressions, especially
get them turned on.
Fresh to yeah. I like, you know, they're not biased at all. They're just coming into it. I want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
What they think.
Yeah.
They're the most interesting opinions.
Cool. And are there things about the hobby that you don't like?
Is this going on YouTube or something?
No, yeah.
Well, yeah,
you know,
for sure. A lot of I guess I think a lot of people are selling nonsense. I won't.
You don't have to name names or anything.
I won't say what I use or anything like that, but and that's not even compared to some other things, but it's just, you know, it's such a subjective hobby that I think it just leads to, you know, almost supporting this cottage industry of just nonsense, you know, that anyone can just say, well, I heard the difference. So is it truly a difference or is it in your mind?
Do you think?
I think that's a big deal.
Do you think the focus that Marv has on measurements, or that I have on measurements, is that an important aspect of it?
That's probably been the biggest change to the community in the last 3 years. I think, you know, and then you see the difference. Like, look at the older headphones that, you know, are like highly touted. They don't measure that well. Now you're seeing, you know, DIY guys kind of turning into commercial guys, like Mr. Speakers, Artisan Start Small, you know, these guys.
Lewis, LFF.
Yeah. Lewis probably makes one of my favorite orthos.
Yeah, the slants.
I like the Paradox the most.
The Paradox and slants, yeah. Both.
But yeah, you know, and they certainly use measurements, and now everyone has access to measurements. Now, the subjective thing I talked about, now there's more of a balance between objectivity and subjectivity.
So you like this fact that there is now an objective component and a subjective component.
Right, and there always was, but it was more limited to like measuring amplifiers and DACs. And I guess there was some. I mean, Headroom definitely had, you know, frequency response for a long time, but now it's become more pushed towards the forefront.
You know, the thing to me that's interesting is that, for example, in the audiophile world, it's almost as if there's this objectivist camp and a subjectivist camp. And the thing that I'm seeing that's happening here in the headphone world that I hope will propagate out in a larger way is there's a way to use both. There's a way to bring both together, don't you think?
You have to have both, because I was talking to someone earlier about, you know, he wants to open a headphone store in Southern California, because when you actually listen to something, it's so much different, and it tells you everything that you need to know, as opposed to, I mean, you can read as many reviews online as you want. and that's all subjective. I mean, I'm not saying they're not accurate or anything, but people can say completely different things. They can hear completely differently from you. But if you at least can correlate your own ears to a frequency response, you know,
Right.
you can really start to get an idea of like. It also helps you with like seeing what reviewers do you know, fall more in line with.
Right.
And I think that both of them, you know, I don't look at it as like subjective versus objective. There's certainly debates and stuff, but I think they kind of were kind of helping each other.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree 100%. Okay, Milos. Well, man, thanks so much for hanging out with me for a few minutes, and thanks for being out there in the community and doing your thing, and have fun, man.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. We'll see you guys at the next member table.